Welcome to the Keeping It Real Show. From Oak Point, Texas, the Tokyo Tex, the Kamikaze Cowboy, the Sukiyaki Jockey, the Man of Trail, Tim Tamura. From San Antonio, Texas, a professional horseman, an AQHA and NSVA judge, frequently asked, how would Jewett do it? The man behind the wheel at Keeping It Real, Brad Jewett.
Hello, everybody. Welcome on a great Monday night. We've got a great show for you coming from San Antonio, and actually Tim's in Orlando. He's out of Oak Point Studios tonight. He's in Orlando Studios, but we got an awesome show for everybody tonight. That's his mugshot. That's pretty good, Timmy. I gotta say, always creative, man. Always creative.
I have nothing on my wall.
I know. You feel naked behind you back there?
I do.
All right.
It's all good.
Right.
It's all good.
Go Bucks, Judd Paul. That's right, baby. All right, everybody. So welcome to the Keeping It Real show. Tonight is kind of a, let's call it the 2020 AQHA World Show recap. We've got a cool panel for everybody tonight. We've got AQHA Executive Vice President Ken Banks. If I had a cheer thing, I'd press a cheer thing, but I don't have my clap thing. We have AQHA Professional Horseman Association Chairman Gino Spagnola. We have, because I write these down and my handwriting's just not that great, Chairman of the show committee, Robin Frid. And last, but certainly should be first, Miss Patty Carter, Director of Judges. Tonight is going to be, we've got a little bit of an outline we're going to take, but obviously we have an amazing panel here that is going to give everybody kind of an insight on the backside of the World Show as we're moving, into 2020 and into 2021. We're going to get some thoughts of how they kind of took how the World Show went. As we know, it was an epic undertaking. As Tim and I have mentioned already multiple times, we thought they did a fantastic job with such a short period of time once they knew the entries were coming in, and to be able to, I don't want to say pull it off because that sounds like it wasn't prepared. It felt like they were very well prepared. So before we jump to our panel, though, I do want to mention that we do have the new app coming out, the Horse Show Network app. So be looking for that to be able to download on either Google Play Store or the App Store. That'll be the way to be able to watch past episodes. I had quite a few actually texts this week, Tim, from people going, hey, I didn't get to watch your episodes while you were at the World Show, or maybe even 6 months ago or whatever. And somebody was telling me about an episode, and so I just told them, hang tight. We should be releasing that app pretty soon. So hang tight. That's all I can say. And it'll be a very simple process to be able to do. So I don't want to take up any more time with this great group. Wait. Tim, is there anything you want to say before you bring them in?
One thing. Okay. So one of my best friends, Jan Benitez, was the first one on tonight. And I have to confess, I drove through your town today. We drove through Covington, Slidell. Conan and we drove from San Antonio to Orlando. And when we got to New Orleans and I saw Slidell and Covington, I started laughing. I go, Kona, we should stop, but we didn't have time.
I was going to say, you didn't take him by the dock.
I apologize. I drove right by your house today. I apologize. Okay, let's bring him in.
All right, let's do it, Kona.
Wow.
I didn't get to give him any music coming in there.
We got a lot of team here tonight. How you guys doing?
How about a little
music? Good?
How's everybody? We got audio on everybody?
Up,
yeah, we're good.
All right, Patty, excellent. Robin, did you say something?
I said doing great.
All right, cool.
Okay, let's try it. So, Patty, I want to start with you real quick. Can you just talk about, from your perspective, Senior Director of Judges, how your part of the piece of the puzzle went, like how your judges did, your ring stewards, your stewards out there? Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I tell you what, I couldn't be more proud of the job that the judges did this year. The stewards, the ring stewards, everybody worked so hard, and we just had great team players. I actually had a call from one of the judge committee members today complimenting the entire group of judges and how well they judged. And, you know, we just had a really outstanding group, and we had good prep sessions. The ring stewards worked their butts off. It was such long days. And we had a pretty strong contingency plan, and I'm really glad that we did because we used it a lot. We brought in extra ring stewards. The show stewards did a fantastic job. They're really our boots on the ground, and they're the ones that are, they're true ambassadors for us. So they, just everybody, we had such a great, strong team, and we couldn't have done it without them.
Can you talk about how, obviously, that Robin was one of the judges there, how they're selected?
Okay, so we're actually working on judges for next year's World Show. Every exhibitor at the World Show, every entry has the opportunity to nominate a judge for next year's World Show. We collect that list of judges. It goes through the judges committee. Then that list goes through the executive committee. And so it's a very rigorous process to get to the stage where we can hire you to do the World Show. So once we get that group approved by the executive committee, I build a survey, send it out to that group of judges to see if they're available, what they feel their strongest classes are. And then when we have a schedule, we start, I start putting core groups, the roping judges and the cow horse judges, we start piecing them together, and the all-around judges, and just start piecing it together. And then we really finalize it once we get the final schedule. And then we start tweaking the teams, and it's hours and hours of work put into it. But we're already starting our judge selection for next year right now.
So I want to jump to Robin, since you were one of the judges. How was your week there, and how did it go from your angle as a judge, first of all?
Tim, can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Well, let's throw out a trivia question tonight. We got Nutrena giveaway night.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me throw out this. Nutrena horse feeds are specially developed to provide the right blend of nutrition and energy for your horses at every age and activity level. Whether you're wanting pre and probiotics for gut support, amino acids, or muscle development, support and recovery, or just a balanced nutrient profile, Nutrena is your choice. Nutrena knows that what inside counts, from the inside of the bag to the inside of your horse. Contact Shelly at Nutrena, 775-881-8810. So our first question tonight is, how many AQHA judges did Patty have to keep rounded up? Maybe not the right way to put it, but I can only imagine what it was like with 40. Whoa, I didn't say it. I almost said it.
So Robin, go ahead, Robin. Robin, go ahead and tell us about your position while he gives away.
Yeah, so how many judges, first trivia question, how many judges did Patty have to hire for 2020 for the AQHA World Show?
There's another judge right there, Dan Trainer.
I gave it away. I mean, you got 9 guesses now, basically.
Right. So from my perspective, it was, I kind of have a list in my head of my favorite shows I have ever judged. I'm not going to throw that list out there because I don't want to knock any, because I have multiple that I really enjoy. This blew it away on all levels. And, for us, it's really, we have one of the most important jobs as a judge for the World Show, but we really have one of the easiest jobs because Patty and her team make it easy for us. We walk in and we do our prep work. We're normally there sometimes an hour to an hour and a half before the class. And we get together and Patty used it great, as a team. And I love that word because that's how you feel. You feel like a member of the team when you walk into the arena. And you just do your job. I've got to admit that I was a little nervous the first couple times that I walked into the pen. And I was nervous because, and like every other one of the team, you know, I saw Dan's on. Dan and I were together a lot. And, you know, every one of them are really killing themselves to do the best job that they possibly can. And, like, again, Patty makes that so easy in so many ways. The preparation before the class and the group discussion that we have, kind of everyone getting on the same page. And something that was really a simple thing, but it meant the world to me, was every time I walked into the pen, I had the same steward with me. Shout out to Lisa Freeman and to Cam Foreman. They were my 2 ring stewards. I barely ever had anyone else. So, you know, you get that rapport with someone and it makes your job easier. So, I mean, for me, it was a simple job. Obviously, I don't mean that in a rude way. I worked very hard and I put a lot of my heart into what I did, as did all of my teammates, but they just made everything easy. And I have never had that experience that strong before.
You know, that is so well said, and thank you. It makes me feel good because we strive to, you know, when you're on a team, everybody's going to miss stuff when they judge. Good judges miss less things, but everybody's going to have a miss. And when you're on a team, that's what your teammates do. They you know, shore you up. And, you know, we're all out there trying to find the right answer, trying to see things with clearer eyes. It's such a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks, Robin.
So we have a winner. Patty, how many judges was it that you hired?
46. 46 judges.
Good job, Megan Schaefer.
Okay, yeah. Very good. Mr. Banks, I'm going to bring you in, okay? So from being on the EC here, Executive Council, and you were there the day before it started, the day after it was over, so you're there 23, 24 days. From your perspective, because I know you watched a lot of the classes and how we did, what's your perspective on how the judging went on all the different various classes?
I thought Patty and the judges did a wonderful job also. And you know, we had several horses there ourselves, so we're stalled in the barn. So we're living with all the exhibitors day in, day out. I mean, we had horses in several different events, so we heard from almost everyone. As you know, I'm an old cow horse sort of guy too, so we got to hear from the cattle event people as well as the all-arounders and the trail folks, where we had 200 in the class, by the way. So I thought that the lowest level of complaints about judging that I've ever been exposed to, and I think that was my 19th World Show to attend. And so I can't say enough about that too. I think Patty did a really nice job. I would echo what Patty said earlier about the pleasure horses. I have never seen a better set of pleasure horses. If any of you watch that senior pleasure, you're like, oh my God, I would not want to be the one judging this, because there's almost every one of those were just remarkable, and they were so broke and they stretched out. They moved with some purpose, and it was very impressive. And I mean, a number of other classes, if you watch the senior trail, it was like, oh my, how could those horses be ballerinas like that going over those? So anyway, I just thought people were all excited. I think all the executives were excited. They could just feel the atmosphere that was in the building. You know, I heard people saying, hey, this is a little bit of a ghost town. Well, in our meeting with Gino, one of my comments was, be careful what you wish for, because we had so many horses and so many exhibitors and so much fun. I just thought that, I don't know how we would improve on it.
So, Gino, can I bring you in at this point and talk about the meeting you guys all had? With the
Sure, of course. So, before the first pleasure class, Patty, the executive committee, the judges committee, and the judges there asked to have a meeting from the professional horsemen, and I was a representative of all the professional horsemen, with the pleasure horse trainers and exhibitors. And in past years, as many people are aware of, we had kind of gate calls, you know, a walk, an extension of stride at the walk, jog, extension, stride at the jog, moderate extension of the jog, the lope, and then to show an extension of the stride at the lope. But this year, Patty suggested we take a different approach, and it was just fantastic. We met, there must have been, I can't remember, I would say 75 to 100 people at the meeting. And, my advice to them was very simple. After talking to Patty, the executive committee, I went right to the rule book. And it was, I never read the rule book in terms of, focusing on, what it says about a pleasure horse. But it's pretty clear how a pleasure horse is to be exhibited. And I read pieces of the rule book, not on every gate, but it was pretty simple. And I expressed that to them. Show your horse as the rule book states. And we're not going to tell you how to do it. Just follow the rules of the rule book. And it was a great meeting. And the group of pleasure horse people were so enthusiastic after the meeting about how clear everything was stated. And when I tried to make time to go watch as many of the pleasure horse classes as I could, and I just was amazed at the quality. People were saying about, for instance, that we didn't have qualifications this year, and what quality of horses, how big are the classes. Not only were the classes larger, but the quality was exceptional. And every exhibitor and trainer really made it their business to show according to the rule book. And if they did, they were rewarded. And if they didn't, they were penalized. And it's pretty straightforward. And Patty and all the judges, Robin, Dan, who's on tonight, they all did a great job. But hats off to the exhibitors, I have to say. They did a great job.
So I would love to let Patty and Robin talk a little bit more, because I think this pleasure horse meeting and just how we present our pleasure horses this year is pretty important to talk about. So Patty, maybe you can talk about how that meeting affected your team, and Robin too can talk about how, that you saw a better quality of horse out there.
Tim, I'm going to interject one more time and get another trivia question out there.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
People that tried to answer the first one. Here's your next round of questions, everybody. So Robin Fried, and we see Dan Train is on tonight as too. They were both judges there at the World Show. So 2 classes finished into the next morning. At what time did those 2 classes finish? And I'll give you a hint as far as the classes. The classes were the working cow horse and the hunt seat equitation. At what time?
To the nearest half hour.
What's that? To the nearest
half hour.
Good call. Good call. Okay, go ahead.
Patty?
So yeah, absolutely, and I think it's been a something we've all tried to work really hard on together, is to bridge the gap between what between the judges and the exhibitors in the Western pleasure industry. And they've got such great horses, they're such great horsemen, and just by really not asking for the lengthening of stride at the walk and the lope, they came and showed their horses to their, really to the best of their ability, and they weren't holding back for an extra gate call or something more. And, we want the pleasure horse industry to know how much we appreciate them as customers, as we do our rope customers and our cow horse customers. And, all of our members are so important to us. And, I really thought that everybody brought their top horses. They just showed them outstanding. And it just, it was so rewarding, because just to see that happen and everyone just step up and show their horses, and the judges stepped up and judged them. And it was really fun to be a part of that.
Robin, you judged the seniors and 3-year-olds. Is that what you judged?
Actually, so I was very fortunate. I judged every pleasure class at the World Show except for 2. I did every level 2 and every level 3 of all divisions. I did not do any of the level 1s. And I say that I was fortunate because the quality that we were able to see, I've said it to multiple people since the show. And again, like, you kind of remember your greatest horse shows you've judged, your greatest classes you've judged. And I know the greatest pleasure class that I've ever judged. It was the Maturity at the Congress a few years ago. It was just breathtaking. And the Senior Pleasure just blew it out of the water. And like you, Patty was talking about, and Tim said, or Gino said, I'm sorry, that, you know, the 15th place horse was outstanding. And I remember Patty, I was sitting in the judges' room by myself, and Patty walked in and we sat down, and she's like, how do you prepare for this? And she didn't mean that in a rude way. She's like, this is so good. How do you mentally get yourself ready? And I said, honestly, I know what I want in my head. I know what the rules say. And I know who my strong horses were in the prelims, but I'm going to give them all a clean slate. And I'm going to judge it by the rules and let them dictate to me how I'm going to place it. And it did. And I'll tell you what, we did have a couple little dilemmas in our judges pool, to no one's fault. And sometimes the team has to take up for each other. And I was lucky enough to get put in the finals of the Junior Pleasure. I was not in the prelims. I was not supposed to judge it originally. And right when I thought the Senior was amazing, the Junior was twice as good, in my opinion. And I mean, we had 3 3-year-olds place in the top horses.
Yeah, crazy.
And it was just amazing. Some good friends of mine, you know, I'm friends with a lot of those guys, and if they moved their hand wrong one time, it meant the difference in 1 or 2 placings. Like, it was that challenging. It was that exciting. I walked out of the pen and I wanted to high five every one of my judges. I was so pumped.
That's awesome.
And then, you know, I think as a group, that was the greatest class I've ever seen. I know it was, but the 3-year-old Open was just ridiculous. All 3 of those horses came back in the 3-year-old Open and just were unbelievable. And it was every single time, it just got more and more exciting. So from a judge's perspective, I want to thank those men and women and the way they presented their horses. It made our jobs fun and easy. That's what it's all about.
So I kind of want to talk a little bit about the level 1 and the select horses that came in to this horse show. Gino, I'm going to let you start us. Yeah, then we'll go to Ken and stuff like that. What were your impressions bringing the level 1s in, the selects in, and how we managed as a team to get through that week?
You know, before we jump into that, I want to tie that a little bit together, because we're hearing the judges' side of it. They're having fun. They're proud of the work they did. Patty's proud of how they prepared and the work that they did. We've got Ken in and amongst the stalls and about. He's showing, his wife is showing. We're talking about all positive things here. Right. I mean, I don't think we can gloss over that. To the immense size of the horse show that was, and for that to not get pulled out a little bit, that's amazing. You know, I mean, that there's a lot that went into that. And so I think we need to, not that we haven't done that, but AQHA needs a huge pat on the back for that, because you got exhibitors happy, you got owners happy, you got judges happy. I mean, that's pretty tough. And now we're going to go into the level 1 piece of it, the select, pulling that in, and the amateur as well, which we can get Gino's part of it as well, because he had amateurs, and I don't know if he had level 1s there or not, but I know I did. And so I can kind of put my 2 cents in on that too. But that's an awesome thing that was accomplished in those 22 days for that many people to be leaving Oklahoma City with a positive experience like that. We can't just gloss over that.
Go ahead, Gino.
So when the final entries were posted and people finally realized the size of the horse show, unfortunately, the calls and text messages from fellow professional horsemen were coming in. The panic set in. But what I have to say about that is normal and expected. But what had happened was we had several calls, several communications with this executive committee, and the staff really has risen in the area of communication. We tried to prepare the exhibitors for the fact that this was going to be the largest world show in history. And not only did we do a good job of preparing them, what we did is we delivered a great product. Let's just start in terms of just the ability for you to be able to warm up your horses, because that was the biggest concern that I was hearing before the horse show even started. And I tried to explain to them that we're taking measures to make sure you're going to have the space. But as chairman of the Professional Horsemen and as an exhibitor and a trainer, I thought, considering the situation, or even without the situation as it was, the warm-up was great. We had plenty of space to warm up. It was just fantastic. We did a great job. And I think that we let everybody know that the schedule was going to run late. And yes, it ran later than expected. And no doubt, I don't want to sit up here and say, we didn't have our share of problems, because I don't want to be that type of leader. There were a lot of problems, but it's the way the staff and everyone handled the problems.
All right.
We were reactive. The staff was fantastic. We resolved problems, and when you have a horse show that grew this fast, entries weren't even in until October 15th. We moved in basically October 31st, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, that's a short period of time. And I believe that 70% of all entries didn't come in until the last, I would say 36 hours. And don't quote me, because it might've been a little longer, but so the staff did a fantastic job, and I just was so happy to see that it ran smoothly, and we reacted to problems, and we took care of the customers, because each and every exhibitor is a customer, and we put them first. And I just want to give a shout out. I don't want to go on too long, because I could do that, but the Professional Horsemen, I'm just so proud of all of them. They really stepped up to being there for all. I don't know the number, and maybe Ken or Patty will know, but the number of first-time exhibitors at the World Show was record-breaking.
Yeah.
And the Professional Horsemen were there to answer the questions, to make them feel welcome. And they were there if, in the case where there was a problem, and whether they came to me or the staff, and helping people resolve the problems, not only for first-time exhibitors, but for all exhibitors. And I also just want to state that the behavior of the exhibitors was exceptional this year. I thought that the stewards and staff and Professional Horsemen did a great job at just mentoring everybody in this situation of the long hours and large, just a volume of numbers. It was just fantastic. So cheers to everybody.
So I would, I know Patty has to leave pretty soon, but I'd love Ken to kind of respond to this question. Patty, I have one more question for you before you get to go for me. So, Ken, can you talk about the expansion that we had with the size of classes and level ones and selects, and from your perspective from EC, how it went?
I'll be happy to, and I know you need to get to Patty here quickly, so I'll just make a couple of quick comments. I'll tell you about some frightening stuff that happened to all of us on the executive committee. And Gino alluded to this a little bit. We were meeting every other day by phone call to find out what's going on, what we need to change at our World Show. And 4 days and I'm going to say 3 for sure, 4 days, the statistics said we were going to be up about 5%. Okay? Then on the very last hours, 50% of all the entries arrived, and they all came in, and they came in so quick those last few hours it locked down the software. So then we spent another day and a half unraveling who had applied. There's 2,874 permanent stalls at the Oklahoma facility. By that Sunday, we had 3,340 stalls sold. So we were somewhere 300, 400 stalls short, depending on how it was all going to go. So you can imagine the calls during that time. I mean, right. It was just wild. And I can talk in a minute, Tim, about selects and level ones, and I would love to. I know you need to get to Patty, so I just wanted you to know, everyone to know, that until the very last day, we didn't know how many people were coming. And on that last day, the system locked down, and we had to go through and pick those out. And so that took a while for you to get your stall location and to see that chart, because we realized that we had 2,800 stalls on site, and we had 3,300 stalls requested.
Wow.
Okay, so let me go back to Patty one more time here. So, Patty, before you leave, can you talk about some of the new classes that we had this year and how you prepped and how that went about?
Yeah, so we had the Working Hunter Under Saddle, and that was a new class this year. We had prepped the judges in December. Last year, we had some really great educational material that we just brought up and reviewed that. But one thing with the Working Hunter Under Saddle, I'll kind of go class by class, is we hadn't really had a whole lot of communication with the exhibitors because it just became a class in June. And so we had to ride the pattern with the Working Hunter Under Saddle. We did ride the pattern, ranch on the rail. We've got all kinds of feedback before the show, wanting to make sure that, the class was presented true to the spirit of being a ranch horse. And so we did the same thing. We had a ranch on the rail education for the exhibitors. And then, of course, the judges, we got together and like Robin said, the judges, especially at the World Show, have such a huge responsibility because they're moving the industry forward in either a positive or a negative direction. So they've got a huge responsibility on their shoulders. And so, we had the right judges in the pen, and the exhibitors understood how they were going to be judged. The ranch trail was pretty straightforward because we brought it over with the VRH. But Tim, I want to thank you. Shout out for building a covered wagon for me. I had drawn the whole pattern around this covered wagon that you were going to side pass up and ring the dinner bell. And the day before, my covered wagon fell through. And Tim said, I think I can build you one of those. So amazing jobs with jump standards, wagon wheels, tarps. It was really fun to see Cynthia Canterbury show in the ranch trail. It was a lot of fun. The Western Dressage and the Dressage, this is the first time we've had it at the World Show as a stakes class. And we had the Ride the Pattern had 18,000 views in 5 continents.
Wow.
That viewed it. So more views than any other Ride the Pattern. And we covered 5 continents. So I look for that to be some really strong growth. But you're only as successful as the people around you. And I want to tell you that we've got such an outstanding executive committee now. And when I got to the horse show, I was so stressed about those round pens. I knew that we were going to need them for warm up, and they hadn't been taken care of, and they weren't up to snuff. And Ken got there. Ken, you did, I didn't say anything to you. You made sure it happened. And those round pens are so amazing. And so Ken, you made sure that they were ready for the exhibitors, and that was really a key piece. So you're only as strong as the people that you have around you. And I was fortunate to have such great judges, such great ring stewards, show stewards. It's great having Sydney Reynolds on the team. Bill Link takes care of all the cattle stuff for us, prepping the judges for all the cattle events. And then Don Manuelo makes sure that everybody is there when they're supposed to be there. Don works really, really, really closely with me. And so it was just very humbling, and it was it was really great to survive, and it was divine intervention. That's all I can say.
So,
amen.
One more before you leave from me, Patty, is like drawing the patterns. You and I do that a lot, right? We both draw patterns for the trail, and you draw all the rest of them. How many patterns did you have to come up with on your end versus 8?
So we coordinated. That should have been a trivia question. We coordinated 133 patterns. Right. So that's taking Tim's patterns, putting them in.
Proofing mine.
Proofing Robert's patterns. And then, so I drew with help from my friends. Again, I'm not going to take credit for anything. I'm part of the team, but I orchestrate the pattern drawing for the showmanship, horsemanship, equitation, and did the ranch trail. And kudos to the exhibitors, because we had those focus groups last year of all the top 10 exhibitors to those classes. And it was really super fun for me to be able to take the elements that they wanted to and use my creativity and incorporate them into patterns.
Right. It's just one of those jobs that you do that sometimes doesn't go unnoticed. That, I mean, I do my thing and I do whatever, and you and I talk a lot about our patterns and stuff. But I mean, such a stressful thing to get the right pattern for the right class, for the right level all the time.
Yeah, making sure in the cow horse that you're finishing where the cow will come into the arena, so you're not wasting time.
Right.
So it's always a work in progress, but it's a big responsibility. If you screw up, as you well know, Tim, you mess up on a pattern. You just got to live through it. Suffer through it, right? So.
Right. Bradford, take us.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. I'm trying to get Kona. I'm texting Kona, but I don't know where he is.
He's
you have a video ready, Kona?
Thank you. Thanks all.
Patty, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Patty's got to run. She has a prior commitment, so we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Patty.
It's so awesome to have you on.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great night, Patty.
Great job.
Kona's video, a commercial.
Kona's getting his video ready.
Just about ready to get underway. Our next exhibitor is at the gate.
All right, I think he's got it ready.
I see him. I'm seeing
him. He throws these loops on me. We'll take it. Kona, when you're ready, let's do it, man.
We're just about ready to get underway. Our next exhibitor is at the gate.
They're trying to prove that they belong here.
They really have their eyes set on that podium, but this pair just hasn't been consistent.
Championship titles are elusive.
This is a difficult field.
It all comes down to this. Here we go.
When years of work come to seconds of action, give yourself every edge. Get rebound technology for faster muscle recovery with ProForce from Nutrena.
Here at Rod Patrick, we take the fit process very, very seriously because we know the importance in your performance on how you're fit. So come in, let's give you the opportunity. Tell me what you're experiencing. Tell me what your challenges are. And I know together we're going to find the right answer, and you're going to be happier than you've ever been with your boots. Come see me, and thank you.
Everybody, welcome back to the Keeping It Real show on a Monday night. Close to Christmas. As you can see, Mr. Banks sitting right in front of his tree there. Very, very nice. Very nice. Don't forget, it is Christmas time, everybody. All right, Timmy, let's keep it going here with some good conversation while we got these three gentlemen. Again, we want to thank Miss Patty Carter for joining us and just filling us in. Amazing numbers, man. The number of patterns. Are you kidding me? 133 patterns. 46 judges. That's a lot of coordination, man.
Well, this week I know that Robin has he's the chairman of the show committee for AQHA. He's got a meeting this week. I know EC has a meeting this week. Robin, I'd love for you to just tell me, or tell like, what do you guys process and how do you review for next year? Like, you don't tell me your agenda, but like, what's the purpose and how's it go?
Taking off his judge's hat, putting on his show chairman hat, right?
Well, so I actually haven't seen the agenda yet for tomorrow. We actually have a call tomorrow afternoon, so I haven't seen the agenda yet, so I don't know completely what all is on it. But what we are probably, I know discussion of what's we're going to discuss, and first off, the show committee is made up of, or I should say the show council is made up of professional horsemen, non-professionals, members of the judges committee, members of the ranching committee. So it really, we have a member from the executive committee. Each major committee or council always has someone from the executive committee that sits on that. So we really have a huge representation from the showing industry. We've got show secretaries, we've got show managers. I mean, it really is a large group of people that, from a broad spectrum, to get every single thought process and input that we can to try to make each year, each show, each decision that we make the very best that we can. And I know some of the things that we're going to talk about tomorrow, I'm certain, are looking at the history of this World Show and what transpired. How can we make it better last year? As Gino said earlier, where were our faults and where can we correct those? And, moving into 2021, as we all know, with 2020 and this mega World Show that Ken talked about, that was not the ideal. We know that we have level 1 championships that used to be standalone. So I'm certain we're going to discuss that. And is it wise to have those separated out again, or is it wise to keep them with the World Show? What about the Select World? And Ken's going to talk about that, I think. It was a standalone event. And do we need to be bringing that back into the fold as a standalone, or do we need to keep it with the amateur and the open World Show? So those are a lot of the things that we're probably going to be talking about tomorrow, getting everyone's input, and I'm sure making decisions on, because if we don't make those decisions tomorrow, the EC can't move forward and the staff can't move forward with how 2021 is going to look.
So great information. Mr. Banks, can you talk about the EC and who's in the council, and like from your perspective, what do you take from Robin's committee to your committee that meets on Wednesday?
Sure, I'd be happy to. One thing that the executive committee is trying to do is to really empower these councils, whether it's the Foundation Council or the Show Council or the Racing Council, or even the World Show Committee or these other show committees. We need everyone's input. You've probably heard me say this a few times in a speech. Just because you get on the executive committee doesn't make you any smarter than you were before. So we need all the input that we can possibly get. The executive committee will meet 3 times this week, and we met 2 times last week. And some of it we're waiting on data to arrive because it's just a massive amount of data, and we still have an encumbered style of IT systems that don't talk as well to each other as they should. So the smallest little task takes a long, long time. Just to point out a couple of things, though. On your when you did your entries this year, there was a box you could check that asked you, have you ever attended the World Show before? We had 800 exhibitors check the box. 800 exhibitors checked the box that said, I've never attended the World Show before. So that was so exciting. Awesome. And those people were very nervous. And they brought the energy to our place. When you watch those level ones win something and they're all crying and their families crying and hugging, it was just so remarkable to get to be around those people. I loved it. In fact, I loved having the level ones there.
I agree. Real quick, I brought 4 horses, 3 of them first timers ever at the World Show.
Outstanding.
And exactly the excitement for me. The excitement was great to see them so excited.
So we have to hard question, and is the level ones. In my view, I think in most people's view, there's about 2 groups in that level 1. There's the person that's been a level 1 4 or 5 years. They come to our World Show. They also enter level 2. So we were able to get their entries again.
Right.
That's how we got so many entries. And then we had level 2 people that came because of their specialty class who entered a level 1 class, which was not their specialty class. They just happened to be a level 1 person in that. So we were able to go both sides. It worked really well. Now I know, and we all have to decide this, and maybe your viewers can help us decide this. You have the true level 1 person who maybe was overwhelmed at a show this size. So do we have the East Coast and West Coast level 1s and let those people have their own show, or do we bring them into the house and have the greatest show we can possibly have? That question is not yet answered, and we're gathering data and we're debating it hour after hour. I guarantee, Robin, you guys will be debating that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Now, to make a couple of comments about Select, the Go Horse Show did a survey. 86% of the people were in favor of having the Select show with the amateur and the open show. We sent out a questionnaire to all of the professional horsemen, and those who attended, over 80% of them asked that we have the Select World happen at the same show. So we have some homework to do. I think, that it could easily happen that way. The facts are we're contracted with Fort Worth, and so we have to resolve those issues. We have to do some logistics issues, and then Tim, maybe then I'll promise this is my last comment, and I'll be quiet for a while so others can talk. But the real question that we don't know the answer to: how much did COVID-19 and the fact that we didn't get to show all spring, and the fact that Scott Meyer had to cancel the Congress, how much did that contribute to our growth? So if we had the Congress next year and we get to show in the spring, which it kind of looks like that's what's going to happen, how much would our show be off if we did everything just like we did this year? And so that's a big consideration. 3,400 stalls sold plus 471 sale horses is huge. Very difficult, very, very difficult to manage. But I think, it's just mine, not the executive committee, just Kim thinks that we could be off maybe 20% just because the other shows occur. So maybe in another show, another time, you guys could ask your audience that question, because there's a place to go get data. That's crystal ball gazing to figure out what that is.
Yes.
So I'm going to say something here, a couple things. One, the best part of our show is that we have another one on Monday after these 2 meetings.
Right.
All right. And Craig's coming on, and Aaron's coming on, and Justin's supposed to come on. And we might get some of these questions answered after your 2 meetings go this week. So it's like pre-meetings, post-meetings, gain more input, gain more information. 2, I love our show, Bradford. I mean, where can people hear from these guys, Patty, about how the World Show went?
Right.
Like, you don't get that
back end, right?
You don't get that type of information. And here we got the 3 men here, and Patty was in here. I got 3 more coming on Monday. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. Just get that information. Yeah. Okay, Gino, I'm going to bring you in. I was just propping our program a little bit.
Good.
Gino,
I like that.
I'm going to open the door up for you a little bit, but I really want you to talk about the commentary, because I got to do it with you. But any other aspects you want to talk about, you can too.
Great, Tim. People ask me what it means to be a professional horseman, and the impact that professional horsemen have on this industry is incredible. The impact that the council has, Robin, the chair prior to this year when I became the chair, the progress that he made was just incredible. And one of the things that came about, one of the many things, we didn't talk tonight about the PVC class. That was created by the relationship between the executive committee and the professional horsemen. And it's a class in its 3rd year. And I will have to say it was probably had the most attendance. It was a fantastic class. The winner won $10,000. The professional horsemen, along with the staff and executive committee, created the Pleasure Horse Challenge and the 3-year-old pleasure class. Pleasure horse people came to us and said that they need something at the World Show. And the executive committee, the staff, and the professional horsemen delivered. We had a 3-year-old class and a professional and a pleasure horse challenge. And, I see Fossey Ale here listening tonight. Her son was the level 2 winner of the pleasure horse challenge the first year, which is fantastic. Congratulations to Brian.
You bet.
But it just adds to the excitement. So
3,000, wasn't it, Gino? Like for Brian?
Yeah.
Yes.
Over $3,000, and Aaron Moses was the winner. He won over $3,000. It was just, it's just what the professional horseman could do for the industry, and I'm just really proud of that. And what I tell people is, you hear a lot of complaining, and I just realized what that's all about. But what I tell people is, you know what? If you want to complain, get involved, make a difference. We have an executive committee that will listen to us and wants to hear from us and wants to make change. So don't complain, get involved.
Be part of the solution.
Exactly. I love that.
Robin Frid. So being on the show committee and judging and having a chance to watch some of the show from the sidelines when you weren't judging, did you get like some other perspective that you could talk about that you saw, like watching the trail or something that you didn't judge, or some other classes? Is there something else that you saw that you can talk about for us a little bit?
The biggest thing that I saw as a judge was how can it make me a better coach and a better trainer? And first thing I'm kind of glad you brought that up, Tim. One thing I wanted to talk about, and probably the most popular question I have had since finishing this up, visiting with my friends, and it's a question that I actually had myself when, to other judges, is what do they tell you? Right. Do they tell you how to judge? Right. What do they tell you in the room before? And I always wondered, like, is there something there? And they do tell you something. They tell you to judge by the rules. That's it. Right. You are reminded constantly to judge by the rules. Brad, you've judged, the select world, I know, right? And that is it. You have been hired to judge that event because they respect your ability. And Patty and Bill and that whole team, the only thing they ever remind you of is just remember what the rules say. And then you have 5 judges that get together and talk about what is the ideal that you're looking for and how do we follow these rules better, and maybe where are some things in the pattern, where could we see some problems in the pattern. Right. I remember one of our first classes, we were talking about there could be problems here, there could be problems there, and then Benny Sargent spoke up, which I love Benny because Benny brings in such a different mindset than I do. And he just kind of sat there and said, what about the good things we're going to see, guys? Mm-hmm. And then we started talking about that. And, every one of those discussions was so positive and so wonderful. And it reminded me of the rules. And again, the biggest thing that I think I learned, and Derek Hanscom said over and over, was I appeal. And I learned a lot from my fellow judges there, but Derek kept saying that word, I appeal. Like, what makes me like it? And what are they doing that draws it to me? And I think that's probably something that I am going to take trying to present my horses at future world shows. I hope I remember and prepare them, and to coach my students to really keep in their head is that I appeal to the judge. It is so, so important. And we've talked so much about how wonderful the pleasure horses were. There were so many classes that were wonderful at that event. I scored a rider in a class 100. I've never scored 100 before.
We know that. We know that from past shows that's the truth. He's never done that.
Yeah. I mean, 100 isn't perfect. 100 is excellent.
Right.
Okay. There were enough maneuvers in the pattern that I was like +3, plus 2.5. I scored a Western Rider higher than I've ever scored it in my life, like by far, and it deserved every bit of it. And I don't even remember what I scored it. It was a lot. and it came down to just what Derek taught me was the I appeal, and all of my other team members that were helping me get better. So to answer you, Tim, that's what I took from it the most, was how do I become a better coach and a better trainer to prepare for those events so that I can give that back to next year's judges.
Well, and I know Gino and I did the commentary for the Western Riding, and just that alone right there, there's so many trainers that are getting the eye appeal piece too. There's so many horses that are coming out that you're like, and I think it was the select we did, wasn't it, Gino? I think it was the select.
I can't remember. But I think it was the select. I'm sorry.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is, and I judged the World Show 5 years ago or something like that. And just to where they've come in 5 years, unbelievable. It's just, the horses are amazing. The trainers are doing a great job.
Let me get back to Gino because he raised his hand. I like that. How he raised
It's the first time I use that. I like that.
Gino raises his hand.
Oh my gosh, he's going to be doing that all night the rest of the day.
Yeah. So I want to apologize because I got off on a tangent about my passion about the professional horseman. But, what Tim asked me was about the commentary. And I was fortunate enough. What we do with the commentary is we pair a professional horseman council member with a professional horseman that excels in that event that's not showing in that event or has a student in that event. And I did probably 4 or 5 of them, and we had planned to do, I think, 7 or 8, and it turned out we did 10 or 11 just by popular demand. And what was amazing is the people watching weren't just at home. People were watching in the audience. They had their phone on listening. I'm just so happy. I enjoy doing it, but I think it just adds a whole dimension to the product that we're delivering in terms of, entertainment value. And so hopefully next year we're going to be doing more classes.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I was fortunate to do 2 of them, and I've never done those. And I was very excited that I got a chance to do that. I mean, to have a pattern out there, and I did with you, Gino, and to be able to talk about my mindset when I drew and set it up along with them showing it, right? You and I were going head on. So, I mean, I appreciate having the opportunity to do that. I got one more I got to do for Mr. Banks. I know dinner's up, Michelle. I saw that. And but Mr. Banks, I'm really love to ask you about this because I know it's an event you like. Is about the ranch real quick. And can you just talk about how the sale and all the ranch events that went at the early part of the show? I mean, I watched a lot of it, and I really appreciate those guys coming in and showing, because I know you like that class. So can you talk about that? Hang on, he's muted.
Oh, yep. Did you mute yourself, Ken, or did Conan mute you?
Oh, there.
There you go. Now you're in.
Go.
Push one button at a time. I love the ranch classes. You know, in my real life world, I'm a cowboy, and I move cattle on a very often basis, and AI cattle, and do all that kind of stuff. So I love those guys, and we've done just about all of those events. But we want to do better in those categories next year. We learned that it takes a really specialized team to do a specialized class. We want to handle the cattle better than we did this time. And we realized that it takes a lot of people to put on a horse show this size. And it takes a lot of specialized people that really know how and know the details of how to handle each one of those classes. Like, we had 92 team pinner classes. That's 270 people that showed all day long. It lasted all day long. You know, there was 80 to 100 to one class was 120 in the ranch riding. So it really carries a lot of weight too. I mean, when you take those, you know, it costs a lot to put on this horse show, to have all those prizes, all those globes, and all those buckles. When we have those classes that have 100 in them, they really support those classes that have 10, 15, and 20 in them. Right. So it's really positive. And maybe we made a mistake in that we normalized the fees, because the cutters, the ranch riders, maybe not so much the ranch riders, but the cow horse people, they're very much accustomed to a much higher fee and a much higher purse. I had one of the cow horse people come to me complaining about that their purse was so much smaller, and that person had already forgotten that their entry fee was so much smaller. So we're going to visit about that, and maybe in future shows we can talk to the cattle people about what they want. What do the cutters want when they get there? What do the reiners want? And talking about, I know everybody's talked about great horses. If you watch the reiners, oh my gosh, Andre Fupani and numerous others brought their absolute best horse, you know, $500,000 kind of horses. They came because they wanted to win that AQHA Globe. Yeah. And they didn't come for the money. I mean, I'm bragging now about AQHA, but you can win anywhere in the world. But when you win the AQHA World Championship and you take that globe and that buckle home, you'll never, ever forget it. And it'll always be on your absolute most obvious shelf in your house. And I get goosebumps thinking about the very I've won. I want to do that again before I get too old to do it. So I just think that AQHA is the absolute best. We can have the best world show. You know, for years we talked about we need to tweak this, we need to tweak the schedule, we need to try to fix a few things about the world show. This year gave us a chance to do a do-over. Right. Maybe we really planned the do-over, but several of us had talked, because we've been shrinking at 4 to 6% a year the last 7 years. And several of us talked about we need a do-over. Well, here shot at us, you know, like coming out of a cannon, that we had to do a do-over. And the people responded so well when you have that many horses and that many people and that many cattle people. 790 head of cattle. It took 790 head of cattle to run that part of our show. So it was quite remarkable.
Well, you said it already, but I'll repeat it because he was on our show, Matt Mills, when he was on our show there in Oklahoma City. He mentioned that trophy is that's one he wants. That's why he'll keep coming back until he wants that trophy and he wants that buckle, because that's how much the AQHA World Champion. And on, you know, the World Cup teams for NRHA, $1 million rider for NRHA and all that. But to hear him say that just backs up exactly what you were saying. The prestige that comes along with being the last one standing in that arena and being able to take your victory lap at that trophy.
You know, I think probably too many people have learned they're so far between. As Robin said, you move your hand wrong, you're no longer first place.
Right.
And they're, gee, I'm really good at this. I can win this again. And the next thing you know, 5 years have gone by and you didn't have one. So they're just so cherished because they're so hard to accomplish. They're so hard to get. They're just so valuable when you finally do. The only downside for all of that, for us and all of us who have to pay these entry fees, I paid a lot of entry fees too, is it's just so expensive. The way we run that show, the way we give all those buckles, the way we give all those prizes, it just takes a lot to make that happen. You guys mentioned earlier about having a place to ride. That outdoor pen, the city of Oklahoma said, we'll do our part for free. All you have to pay for is the trucking. Mr. Kaiser said, I'll do my part for free. Still cost $20,000 to bring that dirt out there.
Yeah.
So it was a great place to ride. If we had it to do over, I know we would do it again, but it still costs $20,000. And that's where we spend all of that money. It's really not to pay for the operations of AQHA. It's to pay for that direct staff and what goes on right there at that show.
Great. I mean, I'm gonna ask Robin and Gino real quick. Is there anything else that we could cover that you would like to mention before I close this out tonight? And I'll let Brad have it. Robin.
I mean, I don't know that I have anything else.
Yeah.
Again, you know, it just, that whole event was a wonderful experience, and I don't know that it'll ever be recreated. It was the largest world show in history. We all know the reasons why, and I'm super proud that I got to be a part of it on the level that I did. And you know, that's kind of it. I want to take my hat off to the exhibitors and to everyone involved. And I got to be a lot of behind the scenes of helping to try to create this world show with some of the roles that I've chosen to take with AQHA. And Ken said it ain't easy. I'll tell you what. I mean, the schedule, like, I can help fix the schedule. Whatever. Anyone that thinks they can fix the schedule, give it a shot.
Right.
It is not easy.
How about this?
Think of everybody.
But have 20-some nights, and you only had 2 run that late with that many entries.
But
and again, October 15th is the time that they kind of knew. But even Ken said they didn't know until the day before it really started how many people were actually going to be coming. So I mean, I thought it ran pretty smooth.
The lights go out.
Yeah.
One panel. Now you got to sit there waiting for them to warm back up. That's not AQHA's fault.
No.
That's just, it just happens. And it happened a few times. So now you're adding time to your show. It's nobody's fault.
Right.
So it's tough.
So can I just mention one thing for you and Gino and all the other people that are on the committee? You guys have businesses. You guys are horse trainers, and you guys take the extra time to get on the committees and stuff like that. And I mean, everyone wants to complain. I think Gino talked about that, or maybe Robin did too. If you're going to complain, you need to get on some of these committees and participate. You can't just complain about it all the time unless you try to help. And I know, Robin, it's in your heart. I know, Gino, it's in your heart to make it better for the next generation too. I mean, you guys do more than your stuff to help our industry. Okay. Mr. Banks does too. I mean, you all have other businesses besides this. Okay. So I just want to say props to you, Gino. I'll let you have it.
Well,
go ahead, Gino.
I just want to close with this, and it's not because I was at all involved in this person's career, but I just want everybody to think about this. I had two people that worked for us probably 15 years ago, maybe longer, probably 20 years ago, and that's Danny Tremblay and his brother, and they came from Quebec, Canada, barely spoke English. You know what? He worked hard. They have their own business, and they walked out this year with a record score in the senior reining, and it's just proves that if you work hard, you can walk out of that world show, take a victory lap, and carry that globe. And just want to tell everybody to work hard and don't give up.
It's good. It's good. Well, I guess it's coming to me now, Tim, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think you're muted, Tim, but that's all right. I see your head shaking. So thank you. I want to say, first of all, thank you, Patty again, but Ken and Gino and Robin for coming on here tonight. We've really touched the surface. There's so many other things I know that you'll be thinking of tonight after we're done, and tomorrow as we're going about our other jobs and stuff that, man, wish we would have said this or that. But I think one thing that I'm super proud of is how involved the executive committee. You got Scott. Scott came by my stalls, and Dr. Scott Myers came by my stalls when he first got there, and he just spent 30 minutes he stood while I sat in my chair in front of my stall and visited with all of my ladies. He didn't know that was their first time there, and maybe all of them didn't know who he was. And I know Ken the same thing, because I think you walked by my stalls, or your cart died going up towards my stalls about 5 times a day. Your golf cart or your scooter that you or Lena were driving, but. I just think it's awesome the way the EC is so hands-on and as a part of the association in all different aspects, and I think we're seeing the fruits of that through what's going on in the results of the World Show and other things that are going on. So I'm excited for one to see what comes of the meetings this week, and as Tim has mentioned, next Monday we'll be having. Some more of the AQHA staff on here, including Greg Huffines. Justin and Aaron will be joining him as well. And I don't know who else we may drag on here as well. But before we get there, I want to mention our show on Wednesday night, Thursday night. We have the Youth World Cup, which AQHA was a sponsor of all the awards for the Youth World Cup, which we thank them for that. But we get to be the show that gets to bring you all the results. So anybody that's a World Cup fan, the Youth World Cup fan, make sure you join in Wednesday night, Thursday night. We're excited to bring it to you. We're doing a lot of prep for that, because we want to be sure that all the kids that participated, there's 13, 16. How many countries are there, Tim? You're muted.
13 flags I think.
13 flags we got.
Yeah.
So, we got art competitions, we got lip sync competitions, all the freestyle competitions, along with the horsemanship. To make sure I get all these right, Tim. It's the horsemanship. It's the
showmanship,
the reining,
showmanship, trail, equitation, ranch
riding.
Yep.
So we've got 2 nights that we're going to be, because these shows are going to be jam-packed. We got 2 nights that we're going to be running these awards presentations. So please be sure to support the Youth World Cup here at the Keeping It Real show, 7 o'clock on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock on Thursday night. And we will do our best to make sure that we bring you a great show.
Bring us out.
Take us out, buddy. We got a few more commercials.
Thank you very much, you guys.
We have to thank our sponsors because we couldn't do this without them. Ken, thanks again.
Sir.
Robin's still here. Gino, I see you bouncing around up there, but
I don't know what.
there he is. There he is. You
Thank
keep
you.
touching buttons over there, but thanks,
Ken
Gino, for
Banks.
your time. Thanks for the inspiration of helping us put this show together, Gino. And y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Ken Banks. Thanks, Lana.
Yep. Thank you,
Appreciate
Lana.
you guys.
Good night, everyone.
Merry Christmas to
Have
you
a good
guys.
week.
If I don't see
Have
you
a good
before.
week, you guys.
Happy holidays.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right, Tony, take us out.
Take us out, Connor.
If you're looking for a smarter way to ship, look to Unishippers. We've been helping small to medium-sized businesses cut their shipping costs for more than 30 years. You'll get significant savings with UPS and more than 65 LTL freight carriers by leveraging the group buying power of our 90,000 plus customers. Unishippers is a one-stop shop for reliable shipping, significant savings, exceptional personal service, and easy online logistics management. Let Unishippers deliver for you. Call Mark and his team today.